We're going to go ahead and start the WRWC meeting for Wednesday, October 16th, 2024 at 9:02. And I'll go ahead and start as the vice chair. And once the chairwoman gets here, we'll turn over the gavel to her. But first, what we'd like to do is start out with a roll call, please.
Clara Andriola.
Present.
Christopher Dare.
Here.
Susan Sever.
Yes.
Paul Anderson.
Here.
Naomi Durr.
Here.
Mary Luz Garcia.
Here.
Jenny Breckes. Alexis Hill.
Here.
Miguel Martinez.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. And we'll go ahead and do a pledge of allegiance. And Mr. Martinez, would you mind leading us?
Of course. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And we'll move on to item number 3, public comment.
Oh, Mr. Chair, or Vice Chair, excuse me. Before we do that, we need to read our little disclosure.
For telephone participation, dial 1-719-359-4580 and enter the meeting ID 840-7605-9942 followed by pound. Please mute and unmute phones by dialing *6. To sign up for public comment in person, complete a public comment card and submit it to the clerk. In the Zoom platform, raise your virtual hand icon. If attending by phone, dial *9 to notify the clerk. Note that dialing *9 both raises and lowers the virtual hand.
Thank you. And do we have any public comment? None virtually either? No. All right, then we'll move on to the next one for item number 4, approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. And all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And now we have approval of the minutes for the September 18, 2024 meeting of the Western Regional Water Commission.
Move to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes unanimously as well. Thank you. And now for a presentation update on One Water Nevada Communication Plan initiatives, an opportunity to attend the 2025 Water Reuse Symposium. Mr. Milan and Mr. Carpenter. Yeah, I keep wanting to call you Carpenter, sorry. It's exactly the same, but a little different. Charpenter. Okay. All right, it's all yours.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick introduction. So Mark Milan is with Data Instincts, and we have a contract with Data Instincts to do communications and outreach on our water reuse and purified water projects. And so he is here today to present with Robert Trevor, as a communications specialist from Tumwa, on our One Water Nevada Communication Plan initiatives, and also present some opportunities for education, continuing education across our board. Before I turn the time over, Jen, if you could advance the slides, we're going to have to cue Jen to advance slides. Before we present, I just wanted to recognize Mark because he recently received the 2024 Bauman Cheek Award for Vision and Water Reuse at the Water Reuse Conference last month in Garden Grove, California. And this is a really prestigious award. And he received this award because of his 25 years of experience and vision in working with communities on community relations for water projects, and specifically us in developing the first pilot project for advanced purified water. So we're super excited to highlight his accomplishment, and this is a pretty big deal. So I just wanted to say congratulations to Mark.
Pretty much got this award.
We got it. Yeah.
You're welcome.
I have to thank this board at Tumwa.
If you get, we'll have to send out the whole packet. It was amazing. The things that were quoted and said about Mark's service to the various communities was amazing.
Was a rock star.
Yes, I used to have a full head of hair. It was really an honor to receive this award, and I personally knew Bamachik very well. We worked together around the Western United States and also in Spain, Middle East, and Australia, helping to promote water reuse. Particularly, he was well known for introducing recycled water for growing food crops, like in Monterey. The salad bowl of the nation, so 12,000 acres of vegetables that we probably all consume every day. So it was an honor to receive this award from Water Reuse. So thank you very much, and thank you for embarrassing me this morning.
It was up on the screen for a while. I was like, really?
No, thank you.
You know, we're very fortunate to have your services for our community as well, so.
And I'm proud to be here. So next slide, please. I wanted to share with you, well, first of all, for those of you who are relatively new to One Water Nevada, it's really a collaborative effort of regional agencies exploring comprehensive resource management approach. This is really near and dear, I know, to Robert and the whole team, extending the resiliency and sustainability of your local water supplies like you have for over 100 years. And we're simply looking toward the future, including recycled water in that mix for the future. So that's what this is all about. That's why all these agencies are working together, and that's the One Water Nevada theme. Next slide, please. So I wanted to share with you, because I know many of you have been to Soquel Creek Water District, visiting early on while they were under construction. Well, they finally turned on the lights and everything just about 10 days ago, October 13th. They had a big celebration, some 200 people, folks visiting from EPA, Bureau Reclamation, and of course the state, their local congressperson, local officials, and it was quite a happening. So they had about 200 people there, and then on the following day, they celebrated all the worker bees who helped build it. They had a Hawaiian luau for about 100 plus people. So it was a really special moment acknowledging that achievement. So I just want to share with you that, and I also brought you their booklet they passed out that day. And partially, I want to share this with you because you can do this too. I wanted to let you know that these projects are happening, as challenging as they can be, and as expensive as they are. They're important to the water future in many communities, including this one. Next slide, please. Oh, and at the Garden Grove Conference that Kim just mentioned, we also had Robert come and do a special presentation to several public information officers and government affairs people, and it was great. It was like there were a bunch of kindergartners watching him demonstrate how water could be purified. And he did a great job and really made a great impression. Also shared some of the work that we're doing here. With that, I'm going to turn over to Robert.
So the point of that presentation, and it's something we're working on, we have you've probably seen images of the trailer that we've developed for community outreach, where we have this trailer. It's covered with graphics that help educate people about potable reuse and what we're doing in the region, but we'll bring it to schools, public events. And trailer is beautiful, but we've been working on what's inside the trailer. And this is part of the answer to that, is we have developed this tabletop presentation that'll walk, whether it be students or customers or whomever, through the process of, now are we actually cleaning the water on the table? No, but what we are doing is demonstrating processes, and it gives us an opportunity, and this is going to segue into what we're talking about next, which is the education center, to create a really engaging kind of tactile experience for the people that we're talking about. So as we're imparting this information, we have little tasks that we can have to help us go through this, particularly the students. So that's the idea, and that's one of the big ideas as we go into the education center. Can we go on to the next slide? So the Learning Center, we've for some months now been vetting through a variety of different design firms that have done some of the education centers for some of the facilities that you've toured, like the Roble Center, Orange County. So we developed a list, we had a panel, created a scoring rubric, and they did an initial presentation for us. We knocked it down to 3 candidates, and then I want to say a few weeks ago, it's probably a month and a half ago, we did pick a final firm to do the design. It's their formations. And what really, everybody had different reasons why they liked them. because they're fantastic, but what really drew me to them was their emphasis on storytelling. And working with the stakeholders, you know, related to the facility, reaching out to the people in the community, but establishing the narrative we want to create. Now, I'm sure you've all been to various education centers for different things. So what is the efficacy of that center? What is the efficacy of the investment in that center? Because there are things we want people to know when they walk out the door. We want them to know that we're producing outstanding, high quality drinking water that is equal to anything that's coming out of their tap account. So we want them, that needs to be locked in. But we also want them to have a sense of how, because you know, we've talked about potable reuse in the past, so there's an education process there and an acceptance process. So if you just talk about that, then they're just focused on sort of the pros and cons of that. But if you talk about how it fits into the larger landscape of water resource management in the region, and why it's important for numerous reasons, how it helps us with a number of things, that's another big takeaway we'd like them to have, because the better they understand sort of how all of these puzzle pieces fit together, the more enthusiastic they're going to be about projects like this. And then there are other things we want to get to, like, you know, what are the career opportunities, you know, in water treatment and just utility services in general. So we hope to do a lot with this education center, but what we also hope not to do is muddle it up by trying to cram too much stuff in. It's not giant. So the process we're going to be going through next is really with a very laser focus, establishing what are the key value propositions we want people to walk out the door knowing, and then how does that translate into exhibits? You know, because you'll hear things about, oh, virtual reality headsets, and that sounds great. Well, what if you have 40 students and you've got 3 virtual reality headsets? And I'm just throwing out a potential, these are the sorts of problems we'll be working out in the next process. What is going to work best for the kinds of audiences we anticipate? So that's where we are now.
Yeah, and this is going to be the newest educational center in water reuse world in the country. So it's quite, it's something that other utilities are watching as they plan their centers as well. So are there any questions regarding that?
Actually, if I could interrupt real quick. So before we go to questions, I want to let everyone know I'm turning the gavel over to that is now here. So
All right. Well, thank you.
we'll literally give you the gavel.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson. I apologize for the mess up this morning. It's the best of us, I guess. It's one of those things. But anyway, my question was, we had a presentation recently on the Reno Sparks treatment plant at the city of Reno. Miguel and I saw that. And I asked the question at that meeting where this center would be located, and they were kind of vague on it. And they mentioned across the street, maybe, and it was unclear. And I just wondered, is it across the street? I'm sure you mentioned that, but I must have missed it. But and then how are we funding this? What's the funding for the education center?
The education, where we, you know what, it's just part of the overall.
Overall project will be embedded into like the bonds or whatever that we sell
Yeah.
to build the whole thing.
And the grants that you receive,
The
like
grants.
from the Bureau of Reclamation.
Okay, well, we discussed it, they seem kind of vague about it at Reno, so you may want to just reach out, make sure they're kind of brought along,
Do
because it
some
is,
internal education.
it's very close and obviously critical with the plant itself. And I understand that across the street is this advanced purified water system, is that correct? Yeah, this place.
So the education center will be in essentially the foyer of the plant itself.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, if it was a standalone building, because we've been to some of those,
Yeah.
right, in our tours. So I just wasn't sure of the full concept,
Yeah,
so
so
it probably
it's-
won't be as big as some that we've seen, is that right?
No, but the great thing about this, and like the Swift plant in Virginia is a great example, is when you go into the plant and the exhibits are in there, it creates an opportunity, because there's going to be a large concourse up on the second floor with windows looking out of the
Okay.
plant. So there'll be a chance to sort of work displays and exhibits into there. I'm hoping for some augmented reality where you could hold up maybe a tablet and get explanations of what you're
Oh.
looking at. So it's a great thing.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously it'll help with bad weather, which, you know,
Of course, yeah.
maybe the third of the year anyway we have. So that's great, all right, well, that's the only question. Does anyone else have any questions of this? Yes, Mr. Anderson?
More of a comment for, first off, congratulations. And I think it just goes to show the level of this project that we're working on, having you involved in your expertise, so appreciate that. And then secondly, just before we started the meeting, we were talking about communication. yes, it was about water, but not about this project. And we were talking about effectively, efficiently communicating with people early and often, and how that works. Like we were talking about the Five Ridges project, and whether you were in Sparks or Sun Valley, people are like, whoa, wait a minute, why in the world are we doing this? But it became a successful project because of that effective communication, and that's why I'm saying that what you guys are doing is awesome. The more we can have, the more we can invest in this project, I think will benefit all of us as a community.
And I'll just mention that the informing people about the project has been going on for several years as we do different outreach, and it's incorporated into the messaging that comes out of Tumwa in their newsletters and on their website. And the same for the city of Reno. We have routine meetings with the city of Reno in particular, and also Sparks, but Reno, because they're a partner in this project, their facilities, and they're very effective. We just had one yesterday, in fact, and it really gets into the weeds and details as we progress through. This particular facility, we did have meetings even for the people, the neighbors around that area, so they could see renderings of the project, and they got to hear from AECOM and the designers and the staff, folks like Lydia Teal, answering any questions about the technology, treatment train and stuff like that.
We also did a series of meetings up at the state airport for folks who live out closer at American Flat, the injection site near American Flat Farm. So they had a lot of questions about how water is going to move through the aquifer. We had our hydrogeologists out there to answer questions, took their comments. So we did 3 of those, and they were very well attended.
Just last fall.
Yeah.
And we will continue to do outreach as we move further along through this process. We can share.
The old saying, tell them and tell them again.
Yep.
Is exactly it. I was at a meeting just before this one, and I was sitting at a table where people were talking about that we're out of water in our region. And so it's like, oh my gosh, you think you're doing a great job. Tumwa has been doing a great job of messaging that. But again, people tell them and tell them again. So anyway, thank you.
And so just one more comment, and I was remiss in not recognizing the honors that you received. I want to thank you for everything you're doing. I mean, we're so grateful that Kim found you and connected with you and brought you on this project such a long time ago. I mean, are we on like 5 years?
Yeah, and I wish I could take credit, but it wasn't me. I think it was the previous program manager,
Yeah,
Jim, and that's another organization.
I would blame John Edlow.
John.
Okay, all right, John.
Thank you,
I'm
John.
blaming you. But
No,
anyway, I too have had similar experiences, Mr. Anderson, about understanding about our real status of our water supply in northern Nevada. And that again goes to the credit of all the agencies, but particularly Tumwa and this future planning scenarios that they got involved in, and then the regional water plan that you put together, Kim, and your predecessors. But I also just wanted to say that when I mentioned that Reno was unclear, I think it was that presenter was not as in the loop, that was more of an operational person, and they're not maybe into the regional planning as maybe some.
But I think we will make a point of reaching out to them, because internal education is just as important as external.
Yeah.
So it's a great point.
Well, and then the other question I had was, I wondered on these public outreach sessions, I'm always glad to hear about them. I just wondered, is there good attendance or poor? Is it 10 people? Is it 5? Is it 20?
It varies.
Okay.
It's a range, even at the ones here, and I'll say this will sound strange, but sometimes less is more.
I know what you
It means that people aren't bothered by it, because when we push out the invites through email and like that, we also have links to other information.
Okay.
So I feel that some people are satisfied just by scanning and learning, oh, okay, I get it. And so the ones who tend to come are ones who have issues or concerns, and then we can address them in person. So
And then
it's
my
not like
last-
we're having hundreds of people at all. It's more in,
In the
probably,
time.
what would you say, 10 to 30
Yeah.
people.
10 to 30 is fine. And those in-person engagements have been very successful for us. Like the STED meetings in particular, we had people coming in a little hot, they're private well owners, and they have deep concerns. I mean, like anybody would, they have concerns. What are you guys doing out here? Is it gonna mess up my well? Anyway, they came, they had a chance to talk to us, and pretty much everybody walked out, nodding their head in the right direction. Now, they're not all gonna love you, that's just a fact of life, but these have been really good engagements, very positive.
Last question for me, and you may have addressed it during the discussion, but when do you think this would actually come online to be producing water?
We're hopeful that there will be a groundbreaking next summer.
Summer 2025, and then it's what is it, about 3 years before we're.
It can take a couple of years to build a facility,
Then there's gonna be proving out and.
operational.
So we think in 6 years, or 5?
Well, if you break ground next year in 2025,
Yeah.
John's on, I think he.
John's could probably best address it.
Yeah.
He would like.
I don't know if you heard the question, John, but I was just wondering how long till this plant might be producing water?
Yeah, John Enlow for the record. Like Mark and Robert were saying, begin construction in 25, probably start treating water in 2028 and injecting water within 6 months to a year after that, potentially be able to use it for indirect potable reuse as early as 2030.
2030?
Yep.
Okay, so like 5 years, 5-6 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, any other questions from anyone? Yes, Ms. Angela.
So some of the questions have been answered, so I'm gonna piggyback a little bit, in terms of the education and outreach. I also would just, and maybe you guys have already thought about this, but I never want to, diminish the fact of sometimes simplicity is the best, message. And I think that using the resources that are available, whether it be social media or video, not necessarily in terms of trying to produce or have a huge impact of cost, but the fact is that there's some core information that you all are sharing. And I think that not everybody has the opportunity to physically come out. Not everybody has the opportunity. And what ends up happening is, my experience is, a lot of folks are the experts and they then share that expertise of misinformation that now becomes fact, and there's no real place for them to essentially go to, even though there is a site and I'm familiar with the site. But I think giving it being to Mr. Anderson's point of, share the information, share it again and share, I'm really old, but there was a time when you had to get a message 3 times. Good luck with that. It's like 300 times,
And across different.
yes, exactly. And I just think that some of the resources and tools for education are available that aren't real costly like they used to be, that could be really effective, and then allowing that to be pointed to maybe some deeper information that you already have, given the fact that somebody might want to have that deeper look. But I think the biggest message is just what Mr. Anderson, I must hear that I'm gonna get a tattoo. We have water. No, I really feel like Mike Tyson thing, I don't know. But I hear it so much that I'm just encouraging, maybe as you're talking about like the education center itself and what those resources are as folks are coming in when it's built, but also now. What are those resources that can be used? So if someone, for instance, says something, pointing them to a link that has a lot of details, sometimes it's like, we are a culture of snippets. Everybody wants a little snippet, and then if you say, actually, that may not be factually true, then you have somebody's interest, and then they can go deeper, as deep as they'd like. So I would just like to throw that out for consideration.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a myriad of different outreach items, including very simple infographics that describe the process that are you don't need a college education to understand basically what the project is about. In addition to that, I just want to acknowledge Tumwa's communications team, Robert and the full team. They use all kinds of tools, and it's integrated. Their messaging about this project and all the water resources is integrated throughout their system using all kinds of platforms, including social media.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is anything there?
Definitely, and we're definitely calibrating a lot of the timing and how we roll this out. But one of the things, as you were talking, and I get what you're saying about what can we do now, what can we do with the resources available, but one of the things that really excites me about this education center is the way it actually becomes content. It becomes stuff we put in videos. We've already talked about, is there a way we can put a companion installation out here in our lobby? nothing too expensive, but you can put displays out there that tell you, same thing, the various city halls, libraries, the Discovery Center downtown,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Right, because you have so much
Museum.
foot traffic down there,
Mhm.
then your awareness really goes up, you can draw more traffic out there where you can tell the longer stories. So I think it's going to provide sort of this core of information that we can spider out, spider out that sort of thing.
Including the city of Reno, as I said earlier, we meet with them and we're all talking from the same sheet of music, and that can be extended into Sparks as well, as much as they would like to integrate it to their messaging, so.
No, I appreciate it, but I was also selfishly thinking about like the demonstration that you did. And, that was so beneficial and everyone enjoyed that opportunity to see that, but maybe not everybody was there, so.
I think it could
I'm
be on
just thinking
Saturday
about
night
those
live.
kinds of, oh, okay, well, yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah, what could have been on
Let us
Saturday
know when the
Night
link
Live,
comes
yeah.
out.
We can get ready for it.
Are there
Thank
any,
you.
Ms. Seaver, please?
We still have more presentations.
Oh, I thought you said there was
Oh, no, we just
Okay.
have two more, and
slides.
quick
That would be
about
I
it.
had no idea. Okay.
Slide, please. I know we're taking a lot of time. Your next slide is just to talk about future. This is about the next Water Reuse National Conference. It's going to be held in Tampa in March of 2025. And interestingly, they have a special day devoted to elected officials and also general managers of utilities. If you could go to the next slide, please. This day is just being designed right now. It's a full day of educational sessions for elected officials and of course, general managers as well. And AECOM is involved in sponsoring this day. And some of the things are still being planned. I'm gonna be a part of the 331 along with AJ from our team. And you can see water reuse is getting smarter about really focusing time spending with elected officials who have a lot of questions in new communities that are looking at advanced water treatment. Next slide, please. In addition to this day, which is on Tuesday, March 18th, there are two tours, one on Sunday the 16th, the other on Wednesday the 19th, that go visit. One is visiting a desal plant, but the lower one visits a direct potable reuse pilot in Polk County and also an area called Seven Wetlands. So if you were to go, say, March 18th and 19th, you could experience the full day for elected officials and then maybe do a tour the next day. So this is one Kim and I wanted to share with you all. And of course, we will continue to provide tours to other facilities like we have these last couple of years. They're still very popular with some staffs of all these agencies. So that's what I wanted to share. Kim, any?
Great, yeah, just a couple additions. The Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission did prioritize these tours, site visits that we've been doing each spring for additional staff. They really like to see additional staff from the different agencies and invite other agency people or NDEP folks to attend the tours and get familiar with projects that are happening outside of our region and really promote the water reuse sector. So they did prioritize that in the priority setting, and we'll talk a little bit more about that at the next meeting in November. But I also wanted to just remind the board that we did include in our budget for this fiscal year the funds to pay for our members and our staff to attend a conference or some of the site visits as well. So if there's expenses that need to be reimbursed, we can support that for the commission members.
I just want to share, I'm gonna really try, I wasn't able to go to the one in Colorado, I really wanted to, but I'm gonna try really, it looks like it conflicts with its own meeting, but not with our council meeting, so I'm gonna give it a shot, and I'm going this time.
Great, and I know Paul attended in Colorado,
Right.
so.
It was very much worthwhile. I encourage, if you can make it, take the time to do it, you'll learn a lot.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, thank you
Great
so
to
much
meet with
for
you
all the
again.
info, really appreciate it. We're gonna close out this item, and I don't think you need any direction from us today, other than what we've already discussed about the education. And we'll turn to item 7 and over to Ms. Rigdon and Mr. Macy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kim Rigdon for the record. So we have Seth Macy here with Shetland Macy and Associates, and they're our auditing firm that was we elected to be our auditing firm last year in October. And I will just hand it over to Seth.
Thanks very much. Good morning to the board. I hope that everybody's at least had a chance to kind of look over the report. My purpose this morning is just to kind of hit on some of the highlights of the report for you. First off, I would really like to just thank Kim and Susan and their efforts to the audit process go very smoothly this year again. So if you'll turn to basically page 1, but it's on page 3 of the printout here. This is the sort of meat of it. This is the independent auditor's report. And the second paragraph is our auditor opinion. And it states, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the governmental activities and the general fund of the Western Regional Water Commission as of June 30th, 2024, and the respective changes in the financial position and the budgetary comparison to the general fund.
Could you speak up, Mr. Basin? I'm not sure everyone on
Yeah.
Zoom can hear.
For the year then ended in conformity with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. So this is just basically saying that the commission received a clean opinion for the highest level. So if we'll turn a couple pages to page 4. This here is the management's discussion and analysis. At the bottom, here are some financial highlights. Commission's government-wide net position increased by $299,000 to $2.58 million. The general fund reported an increase in fund balance of $302,000 to $2.61 million. Flip the page.
Mr. Mason, could I ask you to try to speak up again?
Oh.
Okay, I know that when you're reading, it's
I
hard.
need my microphone right here.
Yeah.
And general revenues increased by nearly $107,000 or 6.1% from the prior year. And expenses increased by $11,000 or 1% from the prior year. And if we turn to page 7, and at the bottom, here are the sort of economic factors that were written by management. Overall, revenues and expenses for the fiscal year are within normal fluctuations compared to the previous year. Expenses saw a slight increase due to the professional services as well as staff, commission members, training, and travel. Water surcharge revenue and investment income have both risen. Management believes that revenue levels are sufficient and will remain stable as member purveyors regularly monitor water rates to maintain an acceptable cash flow level for operations. Consequently, this stable revenue stream should continue to provide adequate resources for the commission to achieve its goals and objectives. Unrestricted net position as of June 30th, 2024 was $2.58 million, whereas operating expenses in the June 30th, 2025 budget are only $525,000, or 17% of the total budget. All other budgeted expenses related to projects and can be managed in a way that aligns with main resources and expected future revenue. And then if we turn to the very back, there's one more report at the end there. And the independent auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance. Towards the bottom, it states, during our audit, we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control that we considered to be of material weakness. And turning the page, the results of our tests disclosed no instances of non-compliance or other matters that are required to be reported under government auditing standards. On the final page, under the current year, the Commission complied with all significant statutory constraints on its financial administration during the year. And we did not note any financial weaknesses of the magnitude to justify including the annual report. So overall, again, this year, very
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Mason. Do you have anything to add, Mr. Griffin, to
I do
that
not.
report? Okay. Are we looking for a motion, possible action to accept the report? And do we have to give any direction as well, or?
I should have a recommendation, just direct us to
There's a
submit it to
possible-
the state and
Yeah.
compliance with
Okay.
regulations.
Do you want to put that up, the motion?
It's not, I'm
Oh, you
sorry,
didn't
I
put it in
didn't
the
put it on this
presentation.
screen, but it's under items.
No, that's okay. I'm just looking for motion, Mr. Anderson.
I'll go ahead and make the motion. Move to approve the WRWC financial statements and audit opinion from Shetler, Macy and Associates LLC for fiscal year 2024. Direct staff to file the same as public record as required by law.
Right, and a second?
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Anderson, second by Ms. Andriola. Any comments on the motion? Final comments on the audit? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much, and I think we have a second item
We do.
for you. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Item 8 is designating Shetler and Macy, can you transition the slide, Shady? Thank you. Designating Shetler, Macy and Associates as our external auditors for fiscal year 25. And we do this annually. Shetler and Macy has been our auditing firm, our external auditing firm since 2010. They're very familiar with their processes. They're affordable. I spoke with the county on their change in auditing firms, and they are a very robust, complicated audit compared to our much smaller, simple audit. And so we didn't feel that there was a reason for us to switch to a more expensive auditing firm.
Yeah, but let me ask you, Kim, so just as a point of practice, and we did this with our attorneys, I would like to see an every 5-year bid process. I mean, so since they've been on for 2010, that's a long time. Not that, I mean, that shows you're doing a good job, but I just think it's a best practice in government to check the fields, see what firms are available, get some prices. Not to say we wouldn't move forward with the same auditing firm, but I don't know if the other board members agree, but that's just, generally what I've done the last 40 years in government is try to review our contractors and, check out the marketplace, so. Are there any comments or other comments or questions?
Is there an increase in fees?
I believe it's like a $300 increase.
So it's $300.
$300 increase.
So for me, I'm comfortable to make a motion to move forward. I think you've done a good job with what we've seen. I think knowing that increases we know everything's increased across the league. If your increase was huge, I'd say differently. And if you've done something we don't like, I would say something differently.
Yeah.
But I think the work involved to go find another one, and somebody that's done a good job, I'd make a motion.
Yeah, let me just comment, and I might have not been clear. I was not suggesting for this time. I was suggesting for the 2025, which would have been 15 years, that we do it. I was not at all suggesting today, not at all. Okay, so yes, please, you want to make a motion, Mr. Dare?
I move to designate Shetler, Macy and Associates LLC as the WRWC's external auditors for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. Authorize the chair to execute the related engagement letter and direct staff to report the designation of the state of Nevada by the statutory deadline.
May I get a second? Second. All right, so we've got a motion by Mr. Dare, second by Mr. Martinez. Any questions on the motion? Comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. Congratulations. We're looking forward to your service.
Yes.
And I know that I participated. Let me just make sure I know. Does Tonwa have the same auditor or different auditor?
We don't audit time.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay. All right, so I think, thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much.
Pass the motion unanimously. Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you. All right, we're gonna turn our attention to item 9, which is an update on the wastewater utility regional planning conversation with the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission, and not sure who's presenting today. You are.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kim Rigdon for the record. I just had promised last meeting that I would give another update on our workshops that we're doing with the Water Planning Commission on the regionalization, the discussion that we're having on regionalization of utility management, wastewater utility management, and effluent disposal. And we had our second workshop, October 2nd, the first one I reported on in our last meeting that was held on September 4th. And the workshop was essentially structured so that we could work with the Water Planning Commission directors to identify what are the opportunities and what are the constraints associated with the regional approach, and come up with, formulate some way to make a recommendation to the WRWC. Last meeting, we developed, the Water Planning Commission directed staff to develop a staff working group of directors from City of Reno, City of Sparks, Washington County, and Tonwa. So John Enlow, Michael Drinkwater, John Flansburgh, and Eric Crump from Washington County have all met with me once And the direction that we got was to come up with a request for qualifications to look for a subject matter expert to be on our team and assist us with moving that forward. And the idea is that we really need to start thinking more about what haven't we thought of. We need the subject matter expert who's done this in other communities and has examples of, hey, you need to consider these things. We have our list that we're going to give them so we're not being redundant in effort, but we also want to know what haven't we thought about and how do we move that forward. So we are currently drafting the RFQ, and we're trying to figure out, I've never done one through the Washoe County Administrative. I've done one before in my career, I just haven't done one through the Washoe County system. So I'm in a bit of a learning curve on what they need to put it into their system and organize it and format it. So we're doing that right now, but we do have a working draft that the working group is contributing to.
Okay, great.
That's kind of where we're at. And then also at the November 6th meeting, it'll be a joint meeting with the commission. The members of the commission are prepared to, I think it was Commissioner Hill that asked for some type of presentation from each of them on their utilities and potential background and history and challenges. So we're going to try to do that in a brief format, maybe 5 to 7 minute, per pocket speech of what those facilities are, what their challenges are, and then go into some of the discussions, the recommendation that the Water Planning Commission will need to make. They'll make that recommendation at the meeting, and then the WRWC will have an item to then move forward with that recommendation.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rigdon. I had a chance to talk to you previous to this meeting, and I brought up the issue that 3 of us, and just for the edification of the rest of you, 3 of us, myself, Ms. Andriola, and Mr. Martinez, had an opportunity to meet with some of our senior staff that are involved in water, sewer, stormwater, and other water issues. And the 3 of us recalled that stormwater regionalization was discussed at this meeting several times at the Western Regional Water Commission in the last year. And we wondered, at least I did, and I don't want to speak for them, but it came up in the conversation a number of times, is how do we move forward with both sewer and stormwater? And the challenge is that at Reno, those things are handled by the same department, same people are involved, same people would be on your working group, essentially, possibly with maybe one change. And we want to make sure that we don't give short shrift to those issues. And we weren't sure whether we needed to proceed with a separate RFP or have it combined with this RFP. Because as the consultant gets into it, they're gonna find these things entangled. We're paying from our sewer fees for both issues from Reno. I think at Washoe County they are too. I know at Sparks, no, they're not managed by, well, you can fill in 1 minute. But I think at Sparks they're definitely different. They have a separate stormwater utility from sewer. And we understood that the discussion was, well, as they came up, as a consultant dealt with them, potentially they would get addressed, but I'm worried that it's not rigorous enough. So it's just my perspective, and I would love to hear from my 2 colleagues here that we attended a meeting basically with Dave Solero from the county and with Jackie Bryan. And the idea was to expand their little working group. They've only had 2 meetings, okay, at the staff level, senior staff level. This isn't the Michael Drinkwater, Trina Magoon type level. This is the managing of each of the agencies. And they said, well, we have to bring in Sparks, we need to bring in several others, people from the industry or development or whatever that are the recipients or the demand for both stormwater and sewer. So I'd love to hear from some of my colleagues, any concerns you have, or if you want to go in a different direction. I know it'll come up at the next meeting with the joint meeting with the Water Planning Commission and this board. So I'd like commentary.
Well, I would just add that, so thanks for that summary. It was clear that everyone is fed table. Sparks is, Jack has already reached out to Dion, the city manager, and so we'll see how that goes. But in terms of this particular topic that's agendized, I think that since we had this really informal meeting, I also followed up with Washoe County in terms of some detail. And I really feel, and spoke with others, and I really feel like this meeting, I believe on November 6th, where we do have the summary and we do have the detail, will then reveal or unveil what direction we go. And I think it's a little premature to put in any particular direction with this particular item at this time, given that we don't have all the details. So that would be my summary of recommendation. It may or may not. I think that the experts that are putting this together and the talent and direction of looking at it, whether it's regionalization or looking at consolidation or whatever it might be, is going to have a process. And this is just the beginning. So I'm getting a little bit of the cart before the horse. I think this is a little premature at this point.
Yeah, well, I'll just tell you where I was coming from. I wanted to plant some seeds for the November meeting, because we will be discussing this RFQ. And it has been discussed that stormwater is gonna end up inevitably becoming embedded. And I just wanted to let people know, because it was an adjunct meeting to this very meeting that you're reporting on. So I want to just plant a seed and think about it, check in with your organization, so we are ready to talk about this RFQ at our joint meeting. And if we need to come back to Western Regional Water Commission and talk about a separate direction, think about that too. You know, if we wanna split them out and do separate studies, or if we end up at that meeting deciding that they need to be consolidated, you know, that's whatever we end up. I just wanted to at least let you know what's going on. The conversation, very preliminary that's happened. I only myself attended one meeting. I think they've only held 2 meetings. So let me ask Mr. Martinez, any comments? You participated as well.
I think both of you captured a lot of what was already said, so I don't wanna repeat a lot of what was said, but I do think that the joint meeting that will vet out a lot of the discussion that's happening currently. And I do think if we are looking at water, we do need to look at the implications, not just for wastewater and effluent management, but also our other systems and how those interact with the treatment of that effluent management and wastewater. So I'll just add that, and I do think that that's something that we will definitely vet out in a couple of weeks during our joint meeting.
Mr. Dare?
So, one of the things I think that we need to be cautious of, the group that we're talking about is a conglomerate of all of those, and they do look at all these things. And I don't mind taking some of our best minds, I would almost say, when you mention some of those people coming together, I'd almost say they're almost a committee of some of those people. And I'm not sure how that was formed, but it doesn't matter to me. People can sit on that level and speak. When it comes to electeds, I think we should be cautious in making sure we're walking together and not getting one group in front of another. And that's part of why we have the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission, is that they do that. To duplicate that, at this point, makes very little sense to me, but I think if there's something in our meeting in November that could make sense, that I would listen to it. I just, what I hear right now does seem strange to me. I'm not being mean, I'm just being honest. As I hear it, I'm all, what are we talking? We have this already.
No, we have a technical committee that is the Water Planning Commission, duly appointed, and they were given direction to talk about moving forward with a sewer consolidation. But I'm just sharing that there's concern at our senior levels of our agencies, and Sparks wasn't involved at that point, but undoubtedly will be. How do we integrate these things? And really, John Flansburgh, as chair of the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission, was just updating the group. We're not at those meetings, so it was very helpful just to understand what's going on. Yeah, Ms. Rigdon.
I was just gonna say, you know, that stormwater has been brought up in the Water Planning Commission meetings. There was no, when we got our direction, there wasn't direction to include stormwater in the process. But what I can do, if we're gonna have a meeting hopefully this Thursday or Friday, if not early next week, to meet and go over that scope of work for the request for qualifications, I can discuss what we've talked about and what the concerns are with the commission, and see if, you know, those 4 representatives represent the different agencies.
Right.
Gonna be presenting and making recommendations in November, so we can talk about it and figure out, you know, if the recommendation November 4th, if they can make a recommendation on November 4th, but they're gonna have to come to a consensus. I'm sorry, November 6th, yeah. Okay. The recommendation is gonna be obviously the scope of work, but they're currently working on the scope of work. So they're gonna have to coordinate and collaborate on how that would be, if it would be incorporated in their recommendation.
All right.
Can I just say this?
Please.
The word senior staff and the word regional are coming together and it's making it to us, then it should truly be regional and truly senior staff, is my point. So imagine us having a meeting and Reno wasn't there and all of a sudden we were talking about it. Maybe all, whoa, what, why, and so the key is not that they talk, people talk all the time. The key that it's making to us for looking at some potential decision, and that's, well, I'm just telling you that it made it to us. Those, if you're not careful, can get weird.
I understand. I'm just gonna for full transparency, I point blank and it was very informal and it was very clear. I'm the one who brought up, look, Sparks needs to be here. There wasn't any indication, did I not? So, but look, the bottom line is no different than a few people literally just talking. And it was from that actually was, you know, not to get into a path of duplication at all. So I need to make sure that part is very, very clear. It was just really high level information of just discussion. And I will be also very full transparent. I've been 18 months in this adventure. And from day one, I've been talking about sewer. And I know that many of you have been talking about long before the 18 months I've been in this adventure. But it was very clear to me, and I said it at that meeting, that having this moving forward, it's very exciting. It's very, very great to look at what that is going to lead to. So I just want to make sure that you're clear that if there's any inference of any exclusion, that is not the intent. I also think that the experts are the experts and we have to depend on their expertise on the stormwater piece as well. So I just want to make sure that is all clear.
And I think it started at Reno with just this idea of educating people that were newer, i.e. my two colleagues here. And well, exactly, and haven't been in as long as you and I, Mr. Anderson, so
I appreciate it, I like in a meeting that if I see something that's not, I wanna, and I'm not saying that anybody having a conversation, we all have conversations. I have plenty of conversations to go, but the key to it is that it made it, if it's making it to here and we're bringing it up as a potential, some kind of direction, then you need to have full regional staff there. You should.
Agree.
Yeah.
It should not be coming to us this way. That is my point.
And I wanna.
November will be very good. I do agree. We are not professionals. We can push around good big pillars all we want, but we need to hear from them. If there is something that comes out of there that makes sense, then I'm happy to support something.
And I wanna be clear, they've only had 2 meetings, I'm only 10-1. I just wanted to find out what is going on and what are we doing education wise, and it happened to come up, so I thought this is the right place to bring it up. It literally happened this week, so it's not like it happened months ago or something. So again, just like my colleague, I'm very invested in full transparency. So if there was a meeting that happened, I wanted to educate you and inform you that it happened, and to say that there was discussion that a much broader group, and maybe it's an adjunct, maybe that group needs to get further educated about the role of the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission, if you see what I mean. So, and again, I think it was just really educational in nature. That's how I viewed it. So no decisions were made other than I had my ear tuned to the fact that I was pretty sure that we were either on a parallel or similar path on sewer consolidation and stormwater consolidation, and we had talked about it several times here. And under this item, I wanted to make sure whatever RFQ we put together, that it was broad enough to, as needed. So that's it. That's it. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Anderson.
So just a comment, one, I think, in my opinion, just like the One Water Nevada project, we need to, as a region, be focusing on, and I realize this is kind of crazy, but every gallon of water. I mean, we need to be focusing, whether it's stormwater, reuse, whatever water is in our community, we need to make sure that we're managing it. And if we can't see it, we can't manage it, then we have no control. So that's my comment on that. And secondly, it's a question, can we find a Mark Milan that could be this subject matter expert that could cover such a broad area?
That's a great question. That's a question that we can ask. I would have to work with the directors again at the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission and the staff working group, and we can take a look at how we've incorporated, because there is a an opening for stormwater in that RFQ, primarily because it's gonna be impacted with the water reuse project. So there is that relationship, and what Robert was saying earlier, every water project affects another water project. And so the directors are very aware of that, and there is a piece that says, look, we're gonna have stormwater implications to this, whether it's staffing at the city arena for stormwater, or the way that we're handling operations, with the way that we're looking at closed basins, when we look at water reuse and indirect potable reuse at this point. So the discussions are happening. We just didn't initially make this a dual effort of, we're regionalizing wastewater and we're looking at regionalizing stormwater. The stormwater is definitely a component of the discussion, so I just kind of want to distinguish them.
Well, I know Mr. Anderson's been a champion of stormwater issues. You have, for years, really. So I think it's appropriate. Well, anyway, thank you for the update, and I know we're sort of running out of time for our meeting. So if I may, I'd like to close this item. I don't think we have to give any direction or accept any reports here, so. All right, we'll close out item 9 and move on to 10, which is possible direction to staff regarding agenda items and dates. Let me turn to you about our dates, and then I do have a proposed agenda item.
Okay. All right, fantastic. So next meeting is November 6th at 1:30 here at Tumwa. And it'll be a concurrent meeting with the Water Planning Commission. We felt like the setting would fit everybody better, so Tumwa's been gracious enough to let us use this building. It is an afternoon meeting. We'll bring snacks, and we'll have presentations, 3 presentations from each of the directors pertaining to the workshop that we've been doing, the regionalization effort, background on their wastewater utilities, and then I don't know if we'll have the draft scope of work available at that point, but we'll definitely be talking about that process moving forward and making a recommendation to the Western Regional Water Commission on continuing that approach.
Perfect.
And then we'll also have an overview of our recent priority setting. We did our priority setting for fiscal year 26, so we'll deliver that report as well.
So Kim, will this be a little bit longer meeting?
It will.
Okay, what do you anticipate?
I anticipate it'll be a longer meeting because we're gonna have the presentations and discussion on the regionalization.
And then also the strategic
And the priority
component.
setting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we'll talk about projects and also.
So what is the time frame?
I'm thinking at least 2 hours,
And starting at 2?
starting at 1:30.
1:30.
Mhm.
Okay, so kind of clear your schedules if you can, not a 1 hour meeting, but more like a 2 hour. That would be helpful. What about the next meeting? After
The
that?
next meeting is typically scheduled, it would be normally November 20th. But since we're having the concurrent meeting on the 6th, I figured if there's nothing pressing, we're probably gonna have good direction on some things we need to get caught up on, give staff time to do that. And then we don't hold a December meeting if we can help it because of the holidays. So the next meeting after that would be the mid-January 15th meeting,
Perfect,
which is board elections as well.
yeah, good. And then let me ask this, so that's everything on the scheduling. Any questions on that part? And then for agenda item, based on whatever happens out in November, water planning, if we consolidate these issues, separate them, if we have decided to separate them, if you could put stormwater on the January meeting, and get some board direction on that. If we haven't sort of already given direction, we just want to plant a seed there, that would be good, whether it's regionalization or something else. And then any other people would like to add some agenda items for that January meeting? Okay, all right, well then we'll close out item 10. And we'll move to our final public comment, item 11. Is there any in the room? Anyone like to speak at this meeting? Okay, seeing none, we'll close out 11. Any final commission comments? No? All right, any final staff comments? No? All right, well, with that, we are adjourned. We'll take about a 5-minute break for those that are transitioning over to Tumwa.